Hello, everyone. The time has finally come. Can you feel the unnecessary excitement? Don't worry, I'll carry the spirit of the scene for you, little Timmy. I am your perpetually toxic host, Bambi Sandy, and we've finally arrived at the start of ARCL Season 2. It's like springtime coming out of winter. Uh, we are with a group called Camo Net Supremacy, covering Armor Reforger and the competitive community for the game. They will be expanding to other games in the genre, such as Hell Let Loose and Squad. If you represent a team in the competitive community for Armor Reforger, or if you are with a group of people that would like to get into the competitive scene as a team, join the Discord using the link in the description below. Likewise, if you're simply interested in following the scene further and want to talk with people who are participating, that's fine as well. The Discord is meant to stand as a neutral space for any team or individual that fancies themselves as a competitive player, regardless of skill level, hour count, or opinions on various topics. There's no association with a particular team, tournament, or server. You can use the Discord as a backup networking tool to keep in touch with like minded people, for scheduling scrimmages, or for generally talking about things going on in the scene without fear of being banned or censored for wrongthink. If you join and don't want people to reach out to you in direct messages, simply adjust your Discord settings to ignore messages from people who aren't friends. It's not our job to manage your fragile ego. Imagine joining a Discord that's explicitly focused on interaction in community and then not wanting to interact with people. Camo Net Supremacy is a collective media project slash community for the scene and won't ever host its own tournament. We feature bi-monthly community debates over the balance of the game or the competitive scene itself, along with a podcast, and then obviously these match analysis videos. Our content doesn't feature crazy overlays or editing purposefully, so aside from technical issues and bits on the front and back end of the recordings, we leave everything in the middle for transparency, including my chair squeaks and my lip smacks. I guess that's what a pop filter's for, huh? Now, getting into this series of videos, all of these match analysis videos are going to have this disclaimers section. So if you're on the second video or the third video or whatever the fuck, you could probably just skip by this in the future. But some notes. So for the map and the objectives, the map for play with the 20v20 bracket is Everon. It's left largely vanilla. The map for the 10v10 bracket is Arland. The terrain and objectives on Everon inherently favor certain angles and avenues to exploit, since again, it's just the ordinary map. That being said, the time that it takes to get to each objective from the main spawn positions for either team is actually pretty close, pretty balanced at the beginning for the beginning of the game, anyways. Um, Rules and limitations. I am not up to date on most of the minor rules for the tournament. Things are also subject to change at any time, even partway through the bracket. I might reference, for instance, an opportunity that might not exist for a team or for like a group of people in the recording, since it's limited or covered by a particular rule that I just don't know about. Weapons and vehicles have been restricted to a large degree as well, but there's no open source document outside of the ARCL Discord in the least that outlines what weapons are available. ARCL staff have also underlined prior to Season 2 starting that weapon availability can and will be changed to address obvious imbalances or a lack of diversity. It's also been communicated that there will be no enforcement of weapon or role diversity. Every single person, for instance, on a team could play with light machine guns and RPGs if they wanted. Uh, Season bracket seeding disparities. The bracket seeding for season 2 does not account for skill disparities. If you come from another game and you're watching this recording and something kind of doesn't make sense if you're halfway through watching the season as it's unfolding videos, um, You might come from a scene or a game or a culture where low tier is separate from top tier, for instance, so you don't have top tier teams that are just beating the shit out of low tier teams. This is not the case for this game currently, or ARCL. Low tier teams will play against top tier teams. This means that within the bracket, top tier team could have consecutive matches against low tier teams and would then be propelled deeper into the tournament than if they faced people from their own skill level. Um, a note about the camera control and audio. I am not a caster for ARCL. I have zero association with ARCL. At no point do I or will I have control or guidance for the camera and audio. The audio is muted and effectively dubbed over, so if you can't hear any gunshots and stuff, that's why. Um, Footage is effectively referenced, dubbed over using, fair use standards. This inherently means that significant parts of the action won't be viewable because it's just kind of at the whim of wherever the camera was at any given time. Original casting stuff, information, Task Force Gaming, and the official ARCL stream are options if you want to see the raw recordings. If you just type in Arma Reforger ARCL, that'll, if you scroll a little bit, that'll come up with both of those kind of sources if you're looking for them. There are no shadow casting options. If you don't know what shadow casting is ordinary casting, but it's done from an explicit, constant, sort of 1,000-foot view with no commentary. It's just the the background sounds of the game, explosions and stuff like that. Shadow casting is typically options for teams that are then going to go back through and look for stuff. It's also for specific footage to show like what strategy is being used, and sort of like can then it's a lot of people use it as like b-roll footage depending on what the game is, but none of that for this. So again, kind of at the whim of where the camera is at any given time. And then finally, if you have hurt feelings, if you are a team or an individual that is referenced or covered and you have an issue with how I'm portraying an action or a decision that you've made, grow a fucking pair. The video series isn't about you specifically or your team. This is about laying the foundation for a good culture within the scene for Reforger competitive, and to inform people. If the shoe doesn't fit, don't wear it. If you want an opportunity to say your piece about something, join the Discord. Be a doer. All right, so quality wise, just a note, sort of outside of that section. These first couple of videos, especially since I don't know really what the interest is going to be, not that that really fucking determines quality in my book, but I kind of put the same energy into it regardless. But for these first couple of videos, first of all, again, like there's no shadow casting, so ideally the quality of these breakdowns, it'd double if there were shadow casts, because then you could explicitly see what both teams did at the same time, right? So for instance, once we get into the recording for this match, you can really only see the rollout for one side, because that's where the either caster was at. They just happened to be watching the same faction. They didn't communicate. So inherently, if they start having shadow casters, big improvement there. Still never going to do fancy overlays or whatever the fuck. You're going to notice me like drag stuff on screen. I'm just recording the window. Look, there's my cursor. Just recording the window for my primary monitor, and then I'm pulling stuff in from the other monitor. If that fucking bothers you, come on, man. Have you seen any of the other stuff? So I'm gonna try my best to kind of minimize cursing and stuff that I know kind of makes these videos a little bit of a pain to watch. As far as what you can expect from me, uh, this is really just um, this is highlights. That's a fancy way of saying it. I watched through the recording completely organically downstairs on the TV like a fucking psycho. Um, Kind of, didn't take notes or anything, just watched as an ordinary guy. And then I came upstairs after a couple hours, ate food, whatever the fuck, and then went through and took notes of everything that I thought was interesting and everything that I thought was kind of worth explaining or talking about or referencing and all that good stuff. So, um, if you want to watch with no pausing the cast, just find the casts. That's not what this is. If you're here for an action packed video that shows your individual accomplishments or achievements, this isn't the video for you. If you don't have the patience or interest in hearing theories or explanations for actions, this also isn't the video for you. This is to complement the ordinary casting recordings aimed specifically at squad lead and above kind of levels for teams within the competitive scene or anyone who's looking for insight into that realm. It's not going to reference like crazy off the wall calculus and stuff. So it shouldn't be unwatchable if you don't give a fuck. But just understand that you're in the minority and you're not in the target audience if you don't give a fuck. So complain all day long. Who fucking cares? So to start this off, we're going to do this for every match recording. We're going to go a little bit into, because no one knows, the scene's really fucking new. No one knows who the fuck these teams are. So technically, also, this wasn't the first match. There was a match on Saturday between Spit and Nomad, but it wasn't recorded. So, not going to reference that. So, this happened on Sunday. Technically, a couple days late, but fucking sue me. The match is between Rubber Band Rangers, or RBR as I'll refer to them, and Triple Threat Tactical, or TTT. Rubber Band Rangers has 7 servers, 7 public servers if you go to the server browser in game, that cover a myriad of maps and mods that kind of, giving their offerings for all the popular stuff. Rubber Band Rangers has been around for a year and a half. The comp team started well before ARCL Season 1 in January, so it was something that they were kind of tinkering around with for a while before ARCL kind of started. They operate with a selective application system for recruiting. So if you're they do accept outside applications. You don't have to have been in the Discord or the community or played on the servers for a while. You don't have to be known. You can send in an application, and they select through the applications that they have in a given month to accept people onto the team. Call that selective application. They've held internal scrimmages and a handful of proper scrimmages against other teams so far, so they kind of know what they're doing. They're not, you wouldn't expect these guys to fuck up the rollout from main. They're not going to flip vehicles arbitrarily. And they rate themselves as upper middle tier. And it's incredibly, exceptionally important to point this out. The entirety of this match by RBR was played short on numbers. It's supposed to be 20 on 20, and they did not have 20 people, and they played it, which requires a lot of fucking balls. There are a lot of people, especially in squad where I come from, that would just cancel it and just drop. So it takes some fucking stones to play short. And you'll see sort of from the recording of the match, if you don't already know, It was pretty close on a lot of different fronts throughout a lot of the game. This was not just a curb stomp for either team, which is really saying something. Triple Threat Tactical has two public servers if you go to the server browser. Community started in the summer of 2025. The team was formed, the competitive team was formed in January 2026. Recruitment used to be around open applications. What are words? Open applications. Uh, but transitioned to a networking and scouting based process. So what that means is, yeah, similar to Rubber Band Rangers. Basically, anyone could put in an application through the Discord, and you didn't really have to prove yourself. And then they um, moved to a process of playing with people, likely on their servers. And if they noticed that you had particular skill or you communicated well or the vibe was good, they would scout you based on that and bring you in and offer you a place on the team. Probably conditioned with training and stuff like that, but um, that's actually one of my favorite ways to do recruiting. Is like really feel people out before they feel before they have an opportunity to fake it anyways. Um, Team has scrimmaged enough to know what's up uh, in the context of a match, rollouts and communication and all that good stuff. I believe they had said that they had 4 or 5 different external scrimmages against other teams in between season 1 and season 2. Um, the team is outlining itself as a top tier team. Above average playtime and buy in from everyone on the team means that everyone's head is in the right place, with most of the buy in coming from just a general, mm, dare I say, nationalistic. What's the entity version of nation? Uh, Opportunity to represent their own community and kind of make their mark. Uh, they fancy themselves as a high skill community, so it's an opportunity for them to kind of engrave that in stone in a lot of their minds. So that's who's playing. You get the community, the competitive community is so young that there's really no tried and tested data set. You know, not enough matches, not enough tournaments, not enough opportunities for people to be wrong, not enough chances to see like this team is really great at gunplay, but they shit the bed with logistics and planning. So like that actually means that they're like kind of an upper, like a lower upper team, you know. So in the start of this, you're gonna kind of have to just take people at their word, and then that will settle out over time. So yeah, obviously, everyone's gonna say that they think that they're a top tier team. We'll see if people are right or wrong. Um, General map information and data. Uh, just a quick. Who the fuck is that? That's probably a hacker. Um, just a quick interjection. Um, it would be nice. I've got timestamps for everything, every single comment that I'm going to mention in this recording. Uh, I don't have a way to like punch that in, so you're gonna kind of have to just bear with me from point to point. There will be some occasional pauses and such as I try to work our way to these timestamps. Shouldn't be too horrible though. So this is just kind of an overview of the map, and I've got explicit kind of screenshots or pictures to back up what all these places are. So the southern spawn in this particular match, uh, Triple Threat Tactical had the southern spawn. It's basically just military base levy. Everyone knows what that fucking looks like. It's just the ordinary military base levy. The first objective for them to capture is Laruns. It's in the town. In ordinary conflict, it's like on the side of that hill. Navigate to the right thing. Oh dear God. It's already going down a hill. Here we are. So the white circle represents where the command tent actually is. This was built from me just going into the game master and my kind of local client, and because I had watched the recording and seen where all the command tents were, so this is just me kind of placing it back down. Some of them aren't going to be completely accurate as well because the teams just didn't make it to those objectives. Um, but here on Laruns, so this is kind of where the ordinary objective would be up the hill. So it's down here in between this like pub building. This is the pub, and then this is just an ordinary 2-story. Then we've got this is what I'm calling farm. I don't think it has a real name. That would be tragic if it did. This is what that looks like. It is right on the end of this sort of barn building. You've got Chotain over here, actually. So Chotain would be over here, and then Simon's Woods. This is the pond. This is the main road that cuts past Simon's Woods and up to Province. You can actually kind of see the transformers right here for Province. So this is probably a place that you've passed by a million times but never had a real reason to fight over, which is really kind of funny to think about. Then you've got Fagari. Fagari's command tent is in the town. Come on. We can do it. We can dance if we want to. Here we are. Command tent is smack dab in the middle of the town in this lightly grassed area. So ordinarily the objective is down here in this kind of soccer field area. Here's the stereotypical gully that runs to the north, and then you'd have Province kind of up here. And then you've got sort of like the ordinary conflict supply depot area over here, if that's helpful for a frame of reference. Then you've got Montanak. Just had it up. Where'd it go? This is great. Woo! All right. Here's Montanak. Here's where the command tent is. It is also kind of smack dab into the middle of the town proper right here. This is where the industrial area for ordinary conflict, where the objective would be. Yeah, there's no other real defining features for Montanak that are worth talking about. Then you've got military hospital, which is, from what I understand, just in the ordinary locations. The command tent's kind of like up against the fence right here, outlined in white, and all of that is basically just the same. Then you have Mao, but it's the harbor location for Mao. This, I never fucking saw anyone come here, but according to the coordinates, this is where it is. I think I played a match of Conflict once upon a time where the command tent was actually here, so that kind of tracks. You've got the town proper right here. Guarantee you no one's fought over the harbor. Usually the command tent for Mao is kind of on the south side. No, actually it's on the north side usually, right? Because it's on like the back of the hill, closer to the supply point. Then you've got power plant, which I never saw anyone talk about or reference the entire time. I fucking hate fighting over this place. I've done it quite a bit. It sucks. And this is, from what I understand, where the command tent is on this particular objective. And then the main location, honorable mention. Nope, that's not the right. Yep, nope, yep, yep. All right, nope. Why is that open in just the picture? Here we go. is this little industrial area. So on ordinary conflict, this over here would be military depot. So this is actually the road. You can kind of see a sliver of it that takes you to military depot. This is like the military base that no one ever uses for anything. Little go-kart track right here. On the other side of these trees is the downhill for Mao, more or less. And then kind of down here to the southwest, you would expect the supply depot. If your experience is kind of like north-south conflict games where it's the full map of Everon, if you're on the north side, you've passed by this place because the little military base towers are right here, but there's like kind of nothing here, so you've probably just crossed that off in your mind. The base locations, to my understanding, are going to stay the same for every single Evron match. So even if you're not playing on this one, teams, take note. If anyone would like these screenshots for whatever reason, even though you can take them yourself, let me know. They're not proprietary. Anyways, that is where the map play is going to be. Middle objective is obviously Montanak. If you kind of look at what's on offer for the map, you've got a nice little, this is main, and then this is main, but you've got a nice little 1, 2, 3, and then 1, 2, 3, and then Montanak's kind of all by its lonesome, which I think is a nice touch to a degree. I ran timings. Let me tell you, the terrain disparity for driving with these timings, it's something. It's it's something. So you're gonna see people drive logistics trucks and armed Humvees in this. I didn't see any other vehicle. Uh, don't know if that's just because people only wanted to spawn in two types, but we're just going to work with it. So that's what I did my timings for. The southern Maine is actually favored for basically all timings based on the road conditions. For sure, it's favored for Montanak, which is really interesting because you'll see in the recording that Rubber Band Rangers are yeah, Rubber Band Rangers, I'm pretty sure, watch me eat my fucking words, in the South, uh, used a helicopter. So they were actually favored timing wise to get to Montanak quicker, but they either didn't know or they just wanted to really make sure that they got there first. But these are the timings that I was able to get. By no means, first of all, if you think that I'm a nobody and that I don't know how to fucking do anything or that I don't know what I'm talking about, these should be really good timings in your mind because you should be thinking, oh, I could shave 10 minutes or 10 seconds off of all those times, right? Cool. And then if you think that I know what the fuck I'm talking about, you should be like, man, rough. So, anyways, if you would like to pause the video to write down these numbers or whatever, these were in order of from Maine from every time. And I just kind of went in order of what I thought each thing was. So the first point for the northern spawn was actually Mao, and then it was power plant, and then the third point was military hospital, and the fourth point was Montanak. And then the southern spawn, the first point was LaRuns. The second point was Farm. Third point was Fagari, and then the fourth point was Montanak. If anyone is curious about what this alternate time is, throw me a shout, and maybe I'll tell you my secret. Teehee. So, anyways, for the start of the match, just kind of extrapolated from what I watched. Obviously, neither team has divulged how they played, why they made decisions. This is all just from this recording. The information about each community or team at the beginning was from each team, but I explicitly didn't ask for specific info, like what weapons was everyone running, what was your squad sizes and stuff like that, because you know, that's kind of giving away a little bit of the secret sauce. We'll see if we can kind of feel that out with the recording. But for Rubber Band Rangers, it seemed like 6-person squads was the default. I believe if the framework that they've copied over that we're working with right here, I think that's because they copied over the default assault squad size, which should be 6. So the biggest technical squads that you should see are 6 mans. You will certainly see more than 6 people on an objective, but I think that that's kind of what you'll see and find with a lot of the offense and defense. It seemed like it was pretty mixed. As far as like loadout breakdowns, I saw people using ordinary rifles and light machine guns and grenadier attachments and RPGs. I didn't see a single person using a proper sniper rifle, which was really interesting. Don't know if that's a limitation that's been set for this tournament as like a late entry or something, but I did see a couple of people with ordinary rifles, like 5.56 rifles or 6.5 rifles with sniper scopes, but didn't really seem like that was the same thing. Based on some of the gunshot sounds, I think that DMRs were allowed as well, but I never saw any explicitly being used. And then for TTTs, squad sizes, basically the same thing. 6-person squads. Seemed like they had 5 people on defense pretty consistently. So sort of a differentiation there. Maybe an extra person that could float through other areas. Same thing, mixed loadouts, rifles, grenadier rolls, light machine guns. It's notable that TTT did not really run armor, and you do see Rubber Band Rangers in the recording running a lav as like a dedicated thing. There's a point kind of where TTT has it in the bag and they're riding around on a lav. I don't think that that was like a serious decision. I think they were kind of just like, fuck it, you know. So let's actually get started. So the match begins. I'll call out all of the timestamps if anyone kind of wants to follow along vaguely. The start of the match is at 7:08. So teams are given an opportunity to load in for these matches and kind of get all their shit squared away, all their loadouts set up and stuff. And then it is my understanding that let me actually just kind of full screen this. I'm sure I'll fucking regret that to some degree, but and then they're given an opportunity to like communicate. Obviously there's like an admin or something standing in the middle there that's getting like a readout of the rules or something, and then the vehicles are spawned in. The initial vehicles, at the very least, are spawned in. So I apologize, I misspoke. Staging starts at 7:08, and then the match start is 11:26. Almost there. So at the very beginning, each team is given access to a little bird and what looks like a fucking orca or a blackhawk or something like that. And you'll notice that Rubber Band Rangers doesn't really use theirs. So they've got sort of the header up here that the blue team, later to be outlined in blue, is Rubber Band Rangers, and then the red team is Triple Threat Tactical. So this down here is Rubber Band Rangers, and then to the north is Triple Threat Tactical. Something interesting to note, Alien down here, I don't know if this guy was just AFK or if this is their commander or something. It was interesting, and I actually had to pause the video for a second to go, do they have their commander as like a non-playable guy, so he always has like his radio open? I don't, that might actually just be like a caster or an admin or something though. Because at the beginning here, everyone's got a purple fucking name because the name tag selection hasn't been set or fixed. So Rubber Band Rangers uh, roll out at 12:40 with a helicopter. You can kind of see like so they spawn in the vehicles, and then it seems that the vehicles that are spawned in aren't full of supplies. So it actually eats into your staging time or your rollout time, whatever the fuck we're calling that, because you actually have to load up your ship, which is really interesting to kind of think about. Um, so these guys loading up, and then at 1309, which it's basically he's floating over to. There we are. And then the base kind of loads in. Uh, no use of the helicopters, right? They've already kind of got their logistics trucks going. There's already a Humvee that's going down the road because they didn't have to load a goddamn thing into it. Yeah, the disparity in helicopter use, if you think about it, uh, could have come from a lot of places. The middle objective, you got to figure that people are going to kind of rush with it. You have the same tools as the other team does, right? So if you've got helicopters, they've got helicopters. So to some degree, you could figure, well, if we're all fighting over this middle objective, because that's what determines who wins. It's not who gets the most kills. It's not has the coolest moments. It's about, at the end of the 2 hour timer, who controls the most objectives. So everyone's going to be fighting over, at the very least, the middle objective. That's certainly how season one performed. Was you would get to the middle objective, and then you would try to leapfrog and work for something further. So if everyone kind of knows that at the beginning they have helicopters, uh, TTT might not decide to use theirs uh, because they don't want to lose them basically right at the beginning of the match. Just for a little bit of clarification, they're given helicopters at the start of the match, but they're not allowed to respawn helicopters until 30 minutes into the match. So there's a little bit of risk there, right? If everyone's going for the middle objective, I'm sure that heli ramming isn't allowed, but you know, it's the difference between heli ramming and, just sucking at flying. How well you can explain yourself. Also, though, if you know the enemy is going to the middle objective, um, you know, what's the best case scenario that's going to happen there? You land the helicopters next to each other and just hope that, like, your guys win the gunfight. Yeah. So I don't think that it's crazy that they didn't use the helicopters. A considerable piece, and you'll see me mention that multiple other times as the match gets going. A lot of these competitive matches and kind of contexts, especially if you're playing against a team that doesn't really have like a standing, you don't know them, you don't know how they play, you haven't seen any other matches that they've done, you don't have any expectations. You kind of have to use a chunk of the match to feel out the other team before you do something really risky or something really perverse. You don't know whether that thing's going to pay off, so playing kind of conservatively and letting the other team, potentially get to the middle objective first, eh, you know, that's not the worst thing in the world. Um, then you've got at 14:30. So both teams are just kind of chugging. Just for reference, from the timing sheet that I kind of provided earlier, it takes about, at best, 3 minutes uh, plus, really. 3 minutes to get to Montanak if you're driving from Maine, right? So um, you have 14 minutes and 21 seconds into the recording, and we're still just driving, you know. But it's notable that they're kind of at the base of the hill. They're just passing the turnoff for Grovette. And here you've got rubber band rangers already landing on what is effectively the base of the hill on their side, uh, to fight over Montanak. But they've got a shitload of guys, and you've just got that one Humvee that set off at the right time. Sorry, I'm just using the opportunity to kind of catch myself. I should have like a little highlighter thing to some degree. Um, Now, there's a weird issue here. My biggest complaint about helicopters is the sound. That sound carries for probably farther than it should in the context of a game like this. So you need to get the fuck out of there if you're dropping people off. And if you're dropping people off on an active objective, which this is not, um, you need to fucking like obfuscate yourself or mix it up, drop people off further away so they can walk it in and come from an angle that's not expected or something like that. That one gunner, either a decision has been made here that he needs to go somewhere else or he accidentally got off. The helicopter comes back in to re-pick him up. How crucial is that? You're kind of throwing yourself out there in the wind a little bit more. So just kind of keep that in mind as you're kind of working, especially at the beginning with your one asset, right? So TTT has pushed their 50 cal Humvee up through the objective proper, and this is why I point out that that sound is a really big issue. It doesn't really seem like they've keyed in on it. I know the screen is a little pixely right now, but doesn't really seem like they've keyed in on it, but you should be able to key in on it. They're going to push through town. And they actually catch a glimpse of the helicopter flying away from the objective. Now, they don't know necessarily. Um, you just kind of gotta like. That's why headspace is really important for these matches, right? Because what direction is the helicopter coming from? Kind of like coming from the east. Well, the fucking spawns aren't east and west. So if he's not coming from the south, he's coming from the objective, right? There's nowhere else he'd be fucking dropping people off. That Simon's, I almost said Simon's Woods, fucking Pinewood Lake. It's not an objective. You get what I'm saying? So this is a really, really, and I'm gonna underline it multiple times. This is a really huge fuck up by TTT. Um, it was kind of settled later. And by fuck up, I don't mean that like these guys are fuck ups, but you gotta call it what it is. There was a lot of communication that should have happened here, and it only would have taken 4 words, really. The enemy is here. That's it. And you're gonna kind of see TTT, because that call out wasn't made, really invest themselves into a particular kind of mode of play, especially at the beginning here, that really just didn't mean anything. It was fruitless, regardless of how many people they killed in the process, because it inherently failed before they could like even get anyone set up. So, anyways, um, so they see the helicopter. They actually shoot at it. All this time, nothing, 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 nothing. I can tell you right now, you can't hear them talking. There's not even like a little speaker symbol that lights up or whatever. But I can tell you what call out's not being made. Hey, a helicopter just came from Montanak. Hey, there's a helicopter right next to Montanak. So, anyways, what also sucks here too is this Humvee just keeps it going, just keeps it moving, doesn't follow up on the helicopter at all. Was really kind of keen on shooting it down initially, but then, we're just gonna keep going. And I think that this is indicative of, you know, information siloing at different levels. It's really easy if you're a squad lead or you're like whatever the fuck you want to call it, the commander or like the region lead, you know, the guy that's in charge of like all of the offense or all of the defense, whatever the fuck. However you want to separate that into different levels, right? But like it's really easy to hold what you think just doesn't matter to yourself when it could just click in someone else's mind, right? These guys might not know that, hey, that's like their only good helicopter for 30 more minutes. You know, if we chase that and push that, we might actually get a big one up on them. But if they don't know the value of that thing, yeah, they're just going to keep it fucking moving. Sorry, I'm just going to make a big space here. I fucking collapsed all this text really close, so it's really hard to kind of see where I'm at. And just again, this you have to be comfortable. If this call out was made, right? Hey, they're already on Montanak. You have sort of like three separate modes or stages of planning, right? There's before the match even happens. Hey, this is kind of what do we know about the map? Well, these are kind of the vague timings. We're expecting them to get here before us. This is going to be a real pain to fight over. So, you know, maybe we should uh, try to fight over here instead. You know, maybe we try to, you know, cut them off at the fucking knees so that way we don't have to be over here and we could just leapfrog over here, right? There's sort of the planning that you make before the match begins. And then there's sort of the vague process in the back of your mind where you start kind of asking yourself or answering some of your questions of like, okay, well, what if we're not really able to do that? You know, what if the worst case scenario happens? So you ask yourself the what ifs, right? Well, the third stage of planning, something that a lot of people really kind of struggle with. It's like, okay, the match is actually happening right now. We can't do A or B. What are we doing? Right? You need to be able to flex even with big stuff, right? Because what should happen here, if that call out is made, is okay, how do we push people into different areas to account for, you know, Rubber Band Rangers beat us to Montanak? Uh, so, just wanted to kind of point this out. Then, what is this helicopter actually doing? Well, it's so funny because in the beginning here, the name tags are kind of all like wonky and weird. Uh, Helicopter dropped most of its people off to contest the point proper on the southwest side, kind of towards Pinewood. They ran it into the point. These people got dropped in a completely kind of different area, still kind of on the south side, right on the outskirts of the industrial area. Probably so that way, if all those guys died from the initial helicopter landing, you've still got people that are in the area that can shoot at helicopters and throw rockets at vehicles and stuff like that. And you'll see that these guys end up working as sort of a saboteur team. Uh, there's also something that's kind of cool to note. By the way, arrow keys jump you like 5 seconds at a time, which is fantastic. Never knew that before. These guys could be a short case saboteur team in case the Humvee pushes them. Um, Sort of like trying to make the best of a shitty situation. Helicopter lands real quick so that way he can dump some people that can do something against that, and then tries to fly away, maybe gets shot down in the process, but hey, fuck it. We got the Humvee. Doesn't end up happening. I'm not quite sure that that was the play because none of those guys had RPGs in their hands. And do 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 do. 1648. So we've got Rubber Band Rangers running in to the objective proper. Down here, this is the hill that they're kind of running up to Montanak. It's over here. This is sort of the tree line. I could probably back it up too to give some better context. So this is towards Province. This is that Humvee that was shooting at the helicopter that just decided to keep going. Uh, Humvee here sees these trees go down, should anyways, or not. Keeps it moving. Cuts in like he's going towards Province is what I can only assume is happening here because I I don't think he's been shot at yet. Bam. All right. Big boy. For everyone's kind of information, this is 1648, 1650 in the recording. Misses this AT shot. I don't mean to pick on him. He should have hit this shot. Technically, he does hit it. He just, nothing comes of it. If you're playing as an AT role, I get that probably the majority of the people that are on any given team are going to have rocket launchers, and they might not fancy themselves as anti-tank people. If you've pushed forward into a position like this, you're the AT guy. And by forward, obviously, this is technically backwards because he's going back towards their main. But if you're kind of alone and afraid, and it's on you to make it happen. You can't use the excuse of like, oh, well, I've never used the RPG before, right? If what everyone should kind of do, everyone should take themselves seriously. No one should think that they're professionals. No one's getting paid to do this. But like, if you're set to rock an AT, an RPG, maybe know where you're aiming on certain vehicles. And again, I'm not picking on Big Boy here, but I see this all the time. It's the norm, right? On labs, you hit anywhere on that fucking thing, and everyone inside dies, basically. On Humvees, you hit the back where no one is, and basically nothing happens, and Big Boy dies here. There was a really great opportunity, even if he just hit the front of the Humvee, could have taken out the engine. Instead, he did nothing. Anyways, at 18:15, which is about a minute away, you've got TTT dismounting on that same road to set up an ambush. Now, remember, I referenced some shit that could have been done differently if they'd known that RBR was already on Montanak. They don't know that though. So they think that they have an opportunity to keep RBR from even contesting Montanak, right? So they set up here and fight over this area for a while. But again, and they kill a bunch of people. Don't get me wrong. Like, they don't play bad, but it just doesn't matter because it's not over an active objective. You're not keeping anyone from spawning. You don't get any credit for the kills that you do over the course of the match. So the only thing that matters in this is map play. Anywho, this is just, I'll reference it every time it seems because they really do fight over Province for a while. Province is not an objective. It's not even an active objective. And they just try to control this section of the main road for a hot minute and the tree line that kind of extends from it. So, space. At 1840, kind of glossed over it there for a second. Camera cuts over. Bam. Got this guy. Toxic. What's he doing? Well, he's actually in a helicopter. The fuck is what's he doing? He is doing one of two things. He is either capturing the objective. I'm not really sure about that though, because you got a bunch of people over there, or he's scouting the objective. Kind of seemed to me like he had landed to some degree, but and then flew away. But something that you won't see much more of potentially, philosophically, for the rest of the matches. People using the helicopters to scout for pushes into objectives. It would have been fucking sick if it's the case. Nice if he was scouting Figari to call out whether the enemy was pushing in or not. Maybe they leapfrogged, past Monty, because you have to remember, basically this whole time, TTT isn't on Monty. It'll become more obvious later in the video, but 2017 cut back. Here's that show that TTT aren't on Monty. They still just exist way far forward. Ignore that. Now, 2017 cut back to these. Oh, come on, you can do it. Cut back to these fun individuals. They've moved from the industrial area over here. They've wrapped all the way around and they are setting themselves up to cut off anyone coming down the road. A little bit nitpicky, but that's a long run from over here. And you're really not relevant for anything if you're over here or over here or over here. So, would have liked to see people keep that kind of relevance question in mind. As you're running through a field, as you're working an angle, as you're flanking, think to yourself, like, what if I'm wrong over here? What if they start taking the objective? What if all these guys die and now we're just kind of hanging out over here? So maybe as you're working your way over here, maybe you cut in towards town, you hug the edge, because then if you hear a bunch of gunfire, now you can take, 15 steps and you can kill someone. You can win a trade. You can be irrelevant. But if any of that stuff happens while you're all the way out here, you're kind of just pissing in the wind. And it actually works out for Rubber Band Rangers at 2310, that Saboteur squad. Ooh, come on. You can do it. These guys set up unknown over here. Now, I want to point this out. This is an example of me not just picking on people. I don't know who any of these people are. I don't know who any of the fucking teams are. This guy does it fucking right, and I'll show you here in a little bit a guy doing it wrong. He's got an RPG, but he's also got an ordinary gun. Here's the audio. Sees that the vehicle isn't going over across the road. Swaps initially to his AT. Thinks about it. Nah. Swaps back to his ordinary gun. Boop. And gets the kills because he had an ordinary gun instead of the AT shot. If he would have tried that, it's single use, and not everyone's great with the AT. He saw an opportunity, thought about it, and was like, I'm probably going to have better results if I just use my ordinary weapon. Because I can miss a bunch with my, zero recoil fucking laser beam of a light machine gun and get it done just the same. The Humvees don't really have armor, so works out fantastically. Good shit. Just wanted to call attention to that because a lot of people don't have the state of mind, the clarity to go, that's not really going to work out. Now, here we're at 2345. I should reference back just real quick. If we go to 2240, as the cameras kind of zoom in back to Montanak to ultimately look at that Saboteur team, you can see these guys actually pushing back from the ambush. Now, not sure what has prompted this, because the Saboteur team hasn't killed anyone yet. maybe these guys are just going back to capture, the point. Um, or maybe they've heard gunfire, something like that. But those guys are pushing back to see what's going on over here. Now, jumping back 2240, 2342. There's these guys. They're now in Monty proper, pushing kind of back in, seeing what's going on. Shout out to the dual hopping fence. The synchronization. Pretty fantastic. And again, the best kind of idea that I have for this is really just bounce off the fact that like TTT fight over province in that like strip of trees for the next fucking 5 minutes, right? So these guys kind of have to figure out what's up first. And 2347 is basically now. Uh, this is our first opportunity for an overlay comment. Where are we at? Montanak. So you'll notice everyone's on kind of the northwest side of the objective. And you'll see when the camera kind of, oh no, cuts. How dare you? How dare you? It's like a good aerial shot here in a second. Come on. Yep. Bam. Here's the command tent, and everyone is kind of set up in these buildings. There's a bunch of people that are in this two-story building, which I don't remember being ordinarily part of the map, but I could be wrong. Basically, they're set up as an auxiliary to the saboteur team to kill people that come in to try and capture the objective from their main. So we've got, we're going to use the proper colors. RBR is blue. So you've got a guy on the roof here. Well, that's too big. You've got a guy on the roof here. You've got a guy in the street right here. Wow, that's not quite big. Boop, boop. You've got someone over here by the vehicle ramp. You've got someone that's kind of in the backyard over here. It's the best that I can kind of say that. There's what appears to be a guy in a window looking out. And then you've got a guy on the corner of the building. I'm sure he's also going to the northwest side to kind of look at a sector, if you will. Where's the objective? Well, it's all the way back here. What are the angles that you're not covering? Maybe most of the objective. Where do you know TTT are? They're over here. Not literally right here, but they're way south of you. Behind you, basically, because they're fighting over fucking province, right? So, this is a good opportunity. They fix it way later in the match with another opportunity, but a lot of how you handle defense and obviously offense. Offense is just defense, but in the other direction. That probably makes no fucking sense and is going to trigger someone. They're going to call me absolutely stupid, but fuck off. It's all about resource management. Where are you putting your people? You don't have a million people to work with. Where do you put your people? How do you react to, probes and people coming in and all that good stuff? So I would have liked to have seen in a perfect world. I know that you can't use the build camera to watch for the enemies. I'd have liked to have seen a guy maybe to stay within a certain radius of the actual command tent. Maybe rotate people in to check the map board and see if it says, can't build enemies nearby, right? I don't think there's a rule against that. But either way, keep someone or a couple of people close here because you can be fucking wrong about this. When TTT push in, if TTT push in from the south, what are all these people gonna? They gotta fight through the objective. Well, they've fucking been here. Why are they setting themselves up for that, right? Why isn't there anyone in the church tower? It's got a great overview of a large section of the town. There's all these two-story buildings that you can kind of set yourself up in and be successful. You can put yourself on the roof of this convenience store here. You got these trees that kind of cover you to a degree, so you've got a great field view of everything that's kind of right here, arguably better than the church because you're not as high. Um, and then you can certainly expect people to push in from the southeast, but have a guy on the roof almost acting like a canary. So if they do push in, that's the first guy that dies, and that's how you know. Have a guy here. Total, you've got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 organic people that are already here. So, 1, 2, maybe 3, 4. That didn't make sense. 4, 5, and then you can have a guy that's like roaming or rotating around. So 6, and then if they do push in from the south, these guys are kind of already watching it. They don't have to move. They don't have to show themselves. There's no pixel for some guy to see out of the corner of his eye that doesn't look right or whatever. Um, so that's kind of where my thinking is with that, and you're going to kind of see that reflected in my opinions with a lot of that stuff. So, moving on. Be nice if this wasn't a 2-hour recording. At 24:21. TTT still don't know what's going on Montanak. You would figure if they did, they would not be here. I don't think there are any rules against mass respawning. If there are, that's fucking stupid. If there isn't, hit it right now. Should have hit it probably 2 minutes ago. If you ever have the thought when you're playing in any of these matches, regardless of what team it is, if you can check at any time, anyone can check the player count and you can go, no, there are still 18 people or whatever on the other team. Why are we not seeing anyone? It's probably because something's going on. You should probably reflect and I don't like that. That doesn't sit well, What are you guys seeing on Montanak? That sort of thing. You've got a helicopter over here. Actually, sorry, that's RB Rubber Band Rangers. But like, where's your helicopter? Why aren't you doing any spotting? You could have found out that Montanak was kind of fucked, 3 minutes ago, 4 minutes ago. If you had a helicopter that was kind of flying around, you don't have to use the helicopter for anything daring or crazy, but just have it flying around at a super high altitude or far away or whatever the fuck. At and for Rubber Band Rangers part, they have, just to kind of back up a little bit, Rubber Band Rangers know that this isn't an active objective. They have no fucking cause or reason to be here. They should fucking hit respawn too. And you'll kind of notice that for what I'm calling the start, not mid-match, but the start of the match, they kind of flounder once they take Montanak. They don't really go anywhere with it. And by the time they do start sending people to the next objective to try and contest that, it's kind of fucking over, right? So, just wanted to point out that the message is kind of the same for both people. Like, what the fuck are you doing? Bodies on the point. BOP. Bodies on the point. Everything else is a fucking distraction. 2609. Now, I made the comment about the saboteurs for Rubber Band Rangers on the north side doing good shit. 2609. Here's an example of what typically happens here. You've got this TTT guy, again, gorillas, not picking on you, victim of circumstance. Here's the audio. Here's this guy pushing in. What's the context of the situation? Even if you don't know how many Rubber Band Rangers guys or enemies there are on the objective, it's not yours, right? You're pushing into something that's not yours. At the very least, even if you don't know any of that stuff, this guy's driving up to the point with a Logi. You would assume just from that that they're confident. Okay, so there's no point here. The logistics trucks are not armed. There's no gun. And he's right up on you. You can hear that that guy's right on the other side of the trees. There's no reason for you to hit this with an RPG. Just pull out your ordinary gun. Goes for it. Misses. So what actually happens there? I wish I could draw a straight line. Basically, boop. It just goes behind the truck. Boop. Now he has to pull out. Cancels the reload animation, pulls out his ordinary gun. Guys, again, not picking on you, gorillas. I see it from literally fucking everyone. Why are we leaning here? Why are you adding complexity? Now, if you're playing on a controller and you're like, dude, it's not that big of a deal for me to fucking lean. My fingers are already right there. Okay, my bad. I'll eat a dick. Sorry, my bad. If you're on keyboard and mouse, though, why are you adding complexity to what you have to do to the fucking keyboard here? He's in a Logi. He can't shoot back. Why are you leaning? It makes everyone feel good. And he ends up fucking dying because he puts all this time and effort and energy into looking at this guy. He dies from someone fucking behind him. Anyways, 2955. TTT officially address the Montanak issue, is what I'm calling that, like we're in geopolitics. They recognize that province and the strip of trees is not worth fighting over. And you can see these people that are kind of pushing in to the northwest side. Now, what's conceptually the issue here? If you're TTT and you know that the enemy team holds the objective, maybe you would assume they'll be expecting you to come from the direction that your main is in. But they just feed it to them, and they get fucking smashed a bunch. Just being honest. And it happens with enough repetition that they try to work this northwest, north side. And they don't change up. You know, you have to feel that stuff out really, really early. You know, your job as a Joe, if you're participating in this, is just to frag, communicate. It's simple. You know, you just try to do the best that you can do. As a squad lead, it's a different fucking game, right? Not only do you have to do the job of a Joe, you know, you have to frag, you have to win trades and stuff like that. You have to make judgment calls for multiple people. You also have to make judgment calls for the thing that's happening. If you're the guy that's there, right? If I'm the squad lead that's pushing in, you know, we're the first people that are pushing in on the north side, and you just get drilled by guys that are very clearly set up in tree lines and on, you know, the roofs or, you know, the second stories of buildings. Your moment to shine is not in doing Joe shit. Your moment to shine, what makes you a good squad leader or leader, is feeling that out as soon as possible and going, we need to not burn our energy here. Let's fucking try another angle. Let's do something else. But that call is not made. It's fucking quiet in here. I should have had like some music going in the background or something that only I could hear. That's depressing. Uh 3038. We're actually coming up to it right now. The fuck is this truck doing? Right? Maybe the symbols are wrong and there's like a bunch of people in the cab of this truck. It's one guy. Are we playing pubs? Are you alone? Who's who's leading this guy? What are we doing? And he just gets smashed. Like, I know that the fucking trucks are, we're not on a ticket system and you don't technically lose anything if you lose the truck, but what what are we doing here? You got to value yourself more, brother, right? Even if you've got 5 hours in the game, man, if you would have just waited, if you'd have hopped out of the truck early in this tree line over here, you could have seen a guy that wasn't looking in your direction. You could have won a trade that someone else lost. Even if you fucking suck, trades refer to you die in the process of killing another guy, but you do kill him, right? So even if you suck at fucking gunplay, you could make a trade happen. Uh, but you just kind of gave it up. Love yourself, brother. And then you've got a bunch of fucking people that pushed in successfully to the northwest side initially, but this kind of doesn't go anywhere. Not really going to fault anyone for this initial push. These buildings are fucking garbage with lighting even when you're in them. So it's really oftentimes just down to who laser beams better than the other person. At 3402. This is TTT's second, third attempt to get into the objective. They're still trying the northwest side. Yep. Yep. At least these guys, like, actually hit the town. Bet you were expecting me to say something about the Humvee, weren't you? That crashed into the bricks. Uh, I'm sure everyone's seen this already, but that that didn't really end up mattering, did it? There goes that bush. Now you've just got these two guys. And since there's only two guys against fucking 5, it doesn't end up working out all that fantastically. At 40:07, the determination is made at some level. That's not the timestamp that I wanted. The determination is made to add an additional angle of attack. You got these guys coming in from like the northeast here. They're not just running it in to the or ramming it into the northwest side again. But that being said, still just kind of eating around the edges. Not really like body. I'll say it again. Bodies on the point, right? Got guys kind of just collecting themselves over here, getting ready to walk it in, whatever. Bodies on the point. None of this gunplay that happens in these fucking trees on the outskirts of the buildings, none of it matters if you aren't on the objective preventing the enemy from spawning. It doesn't matter how hard you ball out over here. The enemy is going to just respawn. That's just how it is. It sucks. I know it sucks. That's part of the flaw built into map plays king. It's not ticket based. You don't get credit for winning those gunfights and stuff. I get it. 42 to 43. Just highlighting kind of this big. I keep scrolling when I'm over the video. That being said, about none of this kind of gunplay that's happening in this interstitial space in between the actual objective and sort of like the beginning of these tree lines. Rubber Band Rangers fucking work this land. They grow those crops. That sounded weird. Just good gunplay, good intuition, good opportunities. This guy, just as an example, kind of a mundane case, but just here on the edge of the town. This guy is kind of patient, waiting, listening for audio, kind of peeking through the bush a little bit, hearing stuff. Hearing this guy. Creeps in. Boom. Now, from the view, you would assume that Rice Krispie has seen Demon. Nope. Demon has seen Rice Krispie. More accurately, what happened is Rice Krispie, right as Demon's running by, reloads. Actually, no, that's horseshit. He just fucking moves. He clinks or something. If he just stood completely still, Demon probably wouldn't have fucking seen him. Or we're all, smoking fucking copium and Demon's playing on a 40-inch screen and really did just see him out of the peripheral of his eye. Good fucking play. Doesn't push in, just throws a nade and then moves on. Because he doesn't actually know how many people are in here. Pushes in. Yep, kill the guy. Move on. These guys over here. Good fucking setup. I was just talking to that guy. This guy over here on the edge. And then we actually, funny enough, this match is full of like, boop, elevator rides, like good, bad, good, bad, good, bad. So these guys over here are cutting up all these guys in this tree line. Unknown has set himself up with sort of a grenadier sort of a role. Now, I actually think that this is a no-win situation. The scale, a lot of the bushes in this game are meant to be a particular size, and they've just been scaled up out of laziness. I swear to fucking God. So a lot of these leaves are fucking giant. So there are incredible opportunities to just sit in a bush and never leave. So I don't think Unknown has an opportunity in any way, shape, or form. I don't think that there's like a pixel that he could have seen that was wrong or like a lighting issue. I don't think that he could have seen, because the grass is pretty tall within the edge of this tree line because it's a really thin tree line. I don't think there's an opportunity to see like legs or something solid through the bottom of the bush. Um, Obviously, he's like aiming down scope or whatever the fuck, but he's right here. He's reloading, so he's not tunnel visioned necessarily. He's not really looking around, but also like Zero's still in the bush. There's no opportunity to see him, right? And then he gets killed from the side. Just a shitty situation. I put that down as a note or as a notable moment because that specifically, I spent probably 15, 20 minutes just unnecessarily thinking about like how I felt about that situation because initially I was like, man, shouldn't have fucking tunnel visioned. You're in the tree line with the guys that you're fighting with and you're not fucking looking around. Like, what are you doing? And then I rewatched it and I'm like, oh yeah, the lighting is kind of fucked. And then I rewatched it and I'm like, yeah, but there's an opportunity while you're fucking reloading to do like a little fucking side to side. You don't know if people are pushing across the road or where the fuck. And then I rewatched it again and I'm like, well, I guess no. These guys are still here. And moving on. Just in general, right? This is really good, um, especially like right here at 4430. Um, Earlier, I kind of pointed out that RBR, when they got to the objective, they really weren't allocating space, is kind of what I call it, well. You don't want people to be tripping over each other. The joke for like milsim groups is you don't want people to get blown up by the same grenade, so that's why we march in formation or whatever the fuck. Well, the same kind of basic philosophy underpins where people are at and how many people should really be in one area working a problem when you're on defense. So you've diversified. You've got a guy up in the church tower. You've got a guy over here on the south side of town as kind of a canary. And he's like looking down the hill. He's probably, I think he's actually on the roof. He's set himself up in a position where he can hear vehicle audio and like weird stuff. You've got guys over here that are looking to the east and kind of moving around. You've got these guys that are still over here, and even though there's obviously enemies in the tree line, there's a big spot of big chunk of open space here that these guys have to cross. You've got a guy over here. You've got a guy over here on the west side. Um, Really, really good cutting up. This guy in the second story building starts taking his fucking shots because, like I said, this is just a big open spot. And he ends up killing both of these guys. Nice. Now at 45-24, RBR finally decide to push for the next objective. They've held on to Montagnag for a hot minute, but in their defense, pretty big pushes from TTT against Montagnag. Like I said at the beginning of the video, and I'll say it again later, during the course of a match, if you're playing against someone that you've never played on before, you really gotta feel it out during the match. You don't know how effective the enemy team's going to be when they push back in. So they have decided to finally try and work on Mill Hospital, and I'm just going to use this as an opportunity for another overlay because Mill Hospital plays a very specific way. Basically, all of these bullshit kind of coastal bases do. Again, you know, make sure I'm using the right colors. What are we trying to do? Are we trying to frag like any of that matters? Or are we trying to get on the objective? Bodies on the objective. So if you just think that you're trying to frag, you're going to work the high ground and you're not really going to worry about going anywhere. Maybe you'll kill a couple of people, push a little closer, kill a couple, so you'll start over here, and then you'll push over here, and then inevitably you'll push down the hill, right? Or you could work the fucking low ground that God has given you and almost completely ignore the enemy. And then every kill that you get from this point on, now that you're on the objective, I think the edge of this objective mirrors ordinary conflict. That's kind of like right here on the edge of this warehouse. Now everything is consequential. Now the enemy can't spawn when you kill someone. This particular beach entry might not have worked, but if you're already coming from the kind of high ground, too easy to just wrap around. And then you don't even need to work the beach. You could just come around here. You have the stereotype that God, it's been so long since I fought over Mill Hospital and just never seems to be in play anymore. There's a little cluster of rocks right here that are perfect because the way that the ground dips right here, you can just walk it in and you're kind of occluded from everywhere that the enemies are going to be looking at you. Notes for defense, if any teams find themselves in this particular area. Canary play is huge. Canary play, it references the canary in the coal mine concept, right? If there's a problem, this thing is the first thing that dies. If you are here defending this objective and you want to know when the enemy is pushing in, stand on top of one of these things. Who in the fucking world? You're talking about a 2 hour match where some of these guys might get 5 kills. Who the fuck is going to miss out on an opportunity for a headshot? No one. No one. It's great. And then when you die, you just respawn. Because no one, no, I say bodies on the point because no one puts bodies on the point. You'll always be able to respawn basically. If you obviously know that the fucking, rubber band rangers are pushing in, don't set yourself as the canary because you already know the enemy's pushing the objective. But if you don't know, it's a good sensor. It's also a really great opportunity, if you set yourself up on this tower, just facing the beach so these guys can't blink at you. When you die, it was someone that was over here specifically. Same thing with over here. If you die, it was someone that was over here specifically. I really wish people would use that more, please, dear God. Anyways, if you're defending this objective, just let people push into you. Fuck it. You can push through here. There's a part of the wall that you can hop right here if you're trying to push in to take the base. Just fucking sit right here and watch the inside of the fence. You don't have to peek anything, really. This fucking barracks building, all the windows are favorable for you. There's no cover here. So you can just sit in this building and watch out of the windows, and you're in the broken base game shading, so you're, invisible. And then, kind of like I had mentioned earlier, something that a lot of people don't think about, kind of an advanced mention, but if your expectation, if you're defending this objective, obviously it's on the coast, you've got high ground right next to you. Everyone knows from movies and TV shows that the enemy's always going to use the high ground and that you should always utilize the high ground as well. If that's your expectation, you think that bad guys are going to come from here, set yourself up at an off angle, right? And similarly, try to set yourself up to something that's of similar elevation, if not exactly the same elevation. You don't have to put yourself all the way up here, but you should. I love working these fucking rocks, because you'll catch all of these people that are posted up on these rocks over here. I should use the appropriate colors. No, that's not right. You'll catch all of these guys that are set up, pushing in, flanking around. You'll catch people that are walking down the road and then cutting in if you're set up over here. These guys don't fucking think that there's enemy over there. They see the objective and they know that they think that you're going to be on it, right? So anytime that you have an opportunity to subvert expectations to any degree, even if there's just one guy over here, chef's kiss. Always works out fantastically. Initially, anyways. Once you give away the game, you kind of gotta work it from there. But moving on. 57, 57. Big jump forward. Kind of nothing happens in between this point and this point. 57, 57. Haha, you thought it was going to be a 3-hour video. TTT finally push bodies onto the point and then start fragging, right? I mentioned it earlier. TTT up until this point has basically been trying to eat around the edges, but they have finally decided here in this moment to push in close enough. Make it personal. Make them smell the fear. Their own fear. Initially kind of doesn't work out, but they get a handle on it. The concept is right, and that's why I underlined it. The gunplay didn't work out initially, but 1 hour, 45 minutes. So this is common. You've only got so many bodies to work with, and a friendly reminder that RBR, Rubber Band Rangers, played under numbers. They did not have 20 people. So how many people do you put on offense? How many people do you put on defense? Well, at the end of the day, if all you have to do to win is hold this one match, maybe don't focus so much on pushing to the next objective. Maybe just hold this. Just hold this. What I'm underlining here in this moment is just the diminished body count, right? It was a hot and heavy purpose to defend Montanak before the push to military hospital. Now that the push to military hospital is going on, this kind of lacking, and that sucks. It's ultimately what loses Rubber Band Rangers. The objective is obviously the combination of TTT, put more bodies on the point, but RBR to a degree just kind of walked off, right? These guys, they should be back here. They should. And specifically, right, Laura, I don't know you. I think right on 145, it was a little more. No, this guy's still just chilling in the backyard. Town command tent's over here, which means the radius is kind of here to a degree, you know? It's a little far. It's a little far. Even this guy, Smelly Toe. Actually, come on. Work the camera. Work it back. Come on. No. Come on. Bring it back. Bring it back. You can do it. You can do it. Yeah, there we go. Never mind. He's in a fucking logi. Whatever. I was gonna say if Smelly Toe was right here in this like tree line, technically not in town, he's actually got a better case because he doesn't have to cross a road or anything to get to the command tent, right? If all these people start dying like crazy, what are you doing? It's kind of like I mentioned earlier with the saboteurs at the beginning of the game that were dropped over here on the industrial side of Montanak and then wrapped all the way around. At any given time, as a Joe or as a squad lead or just someone that's participating in the match, you have to ask yourself, like, what am I keeping myself available for? If I only have one use, but in reality I should be like a multi-tool, how can I fix that? And if you're not allowed to fix that, some fucking teams and groups are like that. I'm not saying that is the case for either of these teams, but there are some teams where you're not allowed to have free fucking will. That sucks. That sucks because everyone should just be multi-tools, right? At best, as a squad lead, you should be moving independent pieces just in specific areas. You know, you should be asking, you know, hey, Wayside, can you push out a little bit? Or like, hey, Witty, Toxic, Wayside, you're kind of all like stacked on top of each other. Let's get some movement going. Where the fuck? It's probably a shit call for this particular situation because we're in the bird's eye view and we can see. But you know what I'm saying. Blah 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 blah. 101 flat. I missed a call out. Oh yeah. My bad. Yeah, my bad. TTT over here. Nope, that's not right. Yep. Nope. Yep. What are symbols? TTT over here, right? They've got. Remember how I was talking about ideal defense before? You get a guy on the objective right here in case there's something that's not being seen. If this guy dies on the objective, all these guys know that they need to go back. That's kind of their sensor. You've got this guy. It's kind of in this tree line. If this guy dies, he can look back. He's got good overview on the base. He can at least call out like, oh shit, there's 3 guys behind us, right? Might not be able to lay down effective fire, but you know, you've got this guy pushing over. You've got these guys. There's obviously like a firefight or something going on over here. There's a reason that these 3 guys are stacked up on each other. Great active defense. Great. That's really ideally what it should be, and it's going to sound kind of not compromise. That's not the right word. Kind of contrary to many of the things that I said 5 minutes ago. Defense is all about riding a fine line of like managing resources. How many people do I have to work with? how do I maximize the effectiveness of that? But also then, how do I not overreact to something? If one, if we kill one guy or one of our guys dies on the northwest side, do we need to send 7 people over there? Or maybe we just send 2 or 3, right? And I think that you caught the tail end of that from TTT's side, where those guys that are up in this tree line, let's push to them. But they didn't send everyone. I think that that's really kind of good to point out. 10241. So up until this point, TTT have been varying continually their angles of attack, trying different things on Montanak, trying to see what sticks. And they've worked closer and closer towards the command tent to the extent that, like, they kill a couple of guys or they kill one guy and they get the flash of, like, you were capturing the space, but then, an RBR guy walks into the flag and suddenly they're not taking it anymore. It's getting, they're getting close. You can feel it. TTT have decided, hey, this angle works pretty well for us so far. So this is the southwest side of Montanak. You got all this downslope right here. This is why on Everon, on base Everon, the most fun objectives to fight over are objectives like Entradour, Calvary Hill, downslope opportunities. The enemy can't see you because they're all fucking uphill and the grass is designed in such a way that you can't just see down the hill, right? So these are opportunities. Noodles here and erections could wrap around to the left. Tyler and Lumi could wrap around to the right, and that's all possible in a way that wouldn't be if this was all just flat ground in between them and the objective. So I just like to profess my love for hills to a degree. But they'd been pushing in. This is the convenience store roof over here. They'd been pushing in from this angle before, and this is basically the south side has been the best progress that they've made on Montanak. So they're doubling down on it. I love it. But they're also doubling down on it while they've still got, a guy over here and a guy over here. This isn't Omni over here. This isn't just their own throw it and, hope people don't get hit by an RPG. And this is basically their successful taking of Montanak. The helicopter drop was hot. They did drop it like it was hot. I just made a joke to myself and then reaffirmed it. Anyways, the last thing that happens in what I'm calling the match opener before mid-match, and it's 2 different mindsets. RBR at 103.49. Lose this Logi that's driving in from the south. Now, gentlemen, ladies, maybe, kind of like I said earlier, where there's so many things in prep for these matches to train. If you have a guy that can't kill someone that's 3 feet in front of him, you're not all that worried about positioning, or you just want that guy to sit in a bush and kill whatever walks in front of him, or you try to put that guy into an armor position, or with as a logistics driver, right? Map awareness, general awareness, right? Not checking the map is as bad as TTT's, not calling out the helicopter at the beginning of the game that landed on Montanak. There's no excuse. Even as this guy is driving uphill, there's no excuse. Even if he's on console at the base of the fucking hill, he could have checked the map. It's not on RBR to call out to this specific guy hey, we've lost Montanak. He should check the map and see that the point is flashing. Or he should see that, like, looks weird. There's no symbols on the map over there anymore. I don't think that they're running the, where is everyone mod, but, built into the game, you can see where squad leads are. And he dies. And then not only that, TTT steals the Logi. Insult to injury. Thanks for the supplies. Now we can, spawn on the objective. Because if you see the command tent there, doesn't look like there's any supplies in the command tent. There probably are in the fucking arsenal, but... So anyways, now we enter mid-match. Okay. RBR has made a big play for Montanak. It paid off for a considerable period of time. By the way, shout out to Laura, still over here. They made a big play, paid off, and then they lost it. Not all at once, slowly, but that has a huge, when you put a lot of time, effort, and energy into keeping something going and then it's gone. It's like the South Park reference, and it's gone. It takes a lot out of you. It's hard to bounce back from that in a lot of contexts. And it takes a while to bounce back. Arguably, there is no bounce back. But first thing that happens in mid-match is that taking of the supplies from the Logi, because it sets up further spawns for Montanak. Not that it seems to matter for a while. 106.30. No, that's the Logi. 106.50 is RBR. They've lost Montanak, right? They seem to completely commit to just having lost Montanak. There's a full reset, as you can see, on Fagari. And there, maybe I don't actually know what the fuck I'm talking about. Maybe it's just because the camera never floats over there as it's happening. Maybe there is a big counterattack, and I just don't know, again, what I'm talking about. From our view, though, it doesn't really seem like there is one. It seems like this is just sort of like the, let's play for time a little bit. Let's see if something opens up. Maybe we can constitute like a couple of people or 3 people to go over there. And then, if those people call out that like there's no one defending Montanak, then we go for a push, But these guys just kind of want to hold what they've got now, slow the bleeding. It's fine if we bleed out, but let's see how long we can make it, is kind of how I read that. This 106.50 is where it starts. It's where you first see the helicopter. This is an absolutely baller TTT helicopter attempt on Fagari, and I'll tell you why. First of all, the timing for this, they really just got Montanak back. They've only really had, this is 106.46. The Logi supplies is 106.32, right? They dropped the helicopter that then, had the people, all these people that took the base, at 102.41. So only 4 minutes later, all these fucking guys are in the helicopter and they're mobbing. They're coming for it. I love it. That's, that was very good awareness on whatever fucking squad lead, whatever shot caller, commander, whoever the fuck these teams are calling it or running it. Someone was like, all right, let's keep it going. And they're going for it. Now, only from this view do you really get to see which is some of this, I don't want to say the camera work explicitly, but some of like the not seeing names at certain distances is fucked. Because What makes this baller is that this is not an uninformed decision. You've got two TTT guys that have actually been here on Fagari for a fucking minute, and they're holding out. So they've told these guys in the helicopter, like, hey, now what's happened? You'll, spoiler, this isn't gonna work, but not really for TTT's fault. Now, these guys that are already in Fagari are relaying, I would assume, you would hope, that all of this is assumptions. Sue me. These guys are relaying, hey, we've only really seen like one or two, Rubber Band Ranger guys walking around town. We could probably fucking take this, right? So these guys are coming in. Now, the helicopter is not even close to washing its speed, and one of the two guys on the ground dies. Fucking sucks. Really bad timing. Really bad timing. If you can see where he was at, he was actually just kind of in a front yard, kind of like on a sidewalk, basically. So he had like peeked out to look at a guy. Obviously, this guy Grunt killed him. So they were like already in a gunfight, or maybe Trump peeked out of a doorway to try and hit this guy, something, whatever. But this immediately changes the viability of this whole hot drop, because if you have to do a hot drop on an objective, first of all, you don't want to do it literally on the objective, because if you land in the middle of town, everything from every direction can hit you. You're going to want to land on one side of the objective. What you're calling your field for that, you could land in this backyard, you could land over here, 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 but if everything's kind of in relation to where the command tent is, you got to pick a side, so you're only focused when if you're a Joe that gets out of the helicopter, you only have to face one direction, right? If you have to hot drop on an objective, it's always a good idea to land in such a way that the enemy has to push through your guys that are already on the ground to get to the people that are coming out of the helicopter, right? Because everyone turns to face the sound when you hear a helicopter, like, oh shit, there's a helicopter landing on the point. Everyone stops what they're doing. Everyone drops reason. Everyone runs over. Everyone wants to be part of the experience of mag dumping a helicopter as guys are like stepping out into the stream of bullets. Everyone wants to throw an RPG into the thing, right? And you will catch people off guard. I I don't think I've referenced it in any of these videos, but I call it like the shopping cart theory. It's a shade of the not the shopping cart theory, the store or the grocery store theory. You'll see it in public play, so hopefully this resonates with people, and it's not just a dumb inclusion. When you're getting ready to go to the store, you think about what you need. You go through your fridge, and you're like, I need milk, need eggs, whatever the fuck. You build your list, and then you hop in the car to go to the store, and then you turn your brain off while you're driving. And then you get to the parking lot, you turn your brain back on, you're like, all right, milk, eggs, bread, a couple other things. But for that, space in between, you're like just kind of conserving energy almost. You're focused on other shit. If you can catch people in that sort of similar state of like, there's no one else here, that's why they're dropping in a helicopter. Boom. You just killed 3 people from standing in a fucking window because they just didn't give a fuck. All of these guys will run through the fucking street and just not give a fuck, right? But what sucks, not through really any fault of TTT's, is now that kind of screen is gone, and then this guy dies. So they have no ground presence now. Helicopter goes into land. All these guys go running over. What the fuck did I just say? Right? Helicopter goes to land. His position for landing isn't bad if there's people to soak up. Kind of has a screen. And then I do want to point out here, so no one dies in this initial volley or whatever the fuck for TTT. I do want to point out, right? Again, bodies on the point. This is sort of a shoulda, coulda, woulda. I'm not going to focus too much on it, but you've got a backyard here. You've got a fence. You've got some fucking bullshit trees right here. And then right about now, you're starting to get shot at from like a completely different direction. You're like, what are we doing? What's going on? Push into the point. Push into the objective. You should not be fanning out to like the outskirts of the town here. You should be here in this backyard. Set up angles. Hold corners. This guy could be dead as he pushes through. This guy would hear that, push over. Well, this is a chain link fence. It's fucking see-through. You could kill this guy. Probably pretty easy. And now you've got like a little foothold. The edge of this radius is probably in this backyard. You can shut down the spawns. All these guys fucking are still just kind of gaggling, fucking around. Now, if we kind of back up and we look at the names that are here. Come on. So as this helicopter's coming in, you got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. 6 people on the point. Helicopter comes in to land. Everyone's kind of reacting to it. You've now got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8 people, right? In the time that you've waited, or the time that you could have been pushing into this backyard, people have reacted to the call out that there's a helicopter hot dropping on Fagari, and that's the punishment for not putting yourself on the fucking objective as soon as possible. Obviously, if it's a choice between just running in and dying, but I technically died on the objective, right? I'm not saying don't shoot people. This isn't a fucking stealth game, but your frags mean nothing if you aren't preventing the enemy from spawning. So that doesn't work out. At 107.02, which is actually already past, TTT dies from the hot drop, basically. 112.09. This is just a good reference. So while this attempt is going on Figari, this is just a good view of what TTT's defense looks like on did I do the wrong thing? 112.09. 112. Oh, yeah, my bad. My bad, professional. This is an example of what TTT's defense on Monty looks like. This defense is not tested for forever. Okay. Memeable moment. If you've got free time like this, maybe we should be doing something else. Okay. So, just come on. There we go. All right. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11. And then there was a guy over by Industrial, I thought. And then 12, counting Lumi. You've got 12 people doing defense. Now, I'd like to suggest something to other teams. If you're not confident in doing it, don't do it. Don't blame me for suggesting it. Maybe, since we're past 30 minutes into this, so losing a helicopter probably doesn't actually matter. Unless there's a respawn, mandatory respawn timer for the entirety of the match that I don't know about. Maybe you just have like 1 or 2 guys on the ground doing defense for Monty. And then you have a helicopter just circling Monty that's just looking at tree lines and buildings and shit. And then as soon as they see movement that isn't their team, which is recognizable because all your people on defense should basically be sitting in the same spots or on buildings or in buildings or watching roads. Then people respawn or spawn for Monty to deal with that threat. Like I said, management of what you've got available. Ba 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 ba. 115.41. 2 hours. Wow, that sucks. 115.41. This good opportunity. Again, coulda, woulda, shoulda. You don't fucking see this if you're TTT, and if you don't have it set up, then you already tried one hot drop, didn't work. If you don't see this, you're not gonna know. But would have been fucking great timing to do another hot drop right here. There's only 2 people over here on the point. Would have been sexy. I just wish people would do more with the helicopters. Everyone's so annoyed that attack helicopters with rocket capabilities aren't an option, but then they don't do stuff with the helicopters. Which is it? This is just like kind of a general overextension for RBR's defense. You got 3 people that are pushing that one guy in a tree line that's not even a tree line. That's like the most stereotypical kind of spot for Fagari. 121.24. Shout out to Mr. Lynch, I believe this is his moment. 24. Yep, here he is. These guys have worked their way into Fagari from where the ordinary point usually is. Oh, wait, no. This is fucking pre. That's a bad timestamp. How dare I? Come on. Working it back. Working it back. Working it back. Every time I see Nicho, I want to call him Nacho. Where's this at? Come on. Come on. This is worth talking about. I can't believe I fucked up the timestamp. Did I just do the wrong number? 121.24. Oh, I'm on 22. Sorry, my bad. 121.24. I'm a professional. Bam! You see this man? He has walked it in. I guess hypothetically, you don't actually know. He could have wrapped in from like Province from this push, but my thinking is that he actually came from the stereotypical tree line in through the gully, up past what is ordinarily the point, and he has ended up here. This man is a ninja. Mr. Lynch here knows exactly what's needed. He's read the situation. He knows exactly what's demanded of him. He's not here to frag. He's here to be a hindrance. He's here to be a body. This man comes in. Come on, camera. Come on. Come on. Yep, we get it. Yep. Yep. Hey, can you keep it fucking moving? He places himself in this building. And he waits. This is his job. His best value here is not killing 2 to 3 people, because he knows that he's alone, effectively. His value is being a body. Does anyone know? Pause the video. Does anyone know, class, what the math equation is for default conflict? Take your guess. Equal numbers plus 1. Lynch knows that he needs to hang out for at least equal numbers, and then he can frag. I don't actually know what that guy's doing, but we're gonna fucking keep it going, keep going, keep going, keep going, keep going. You got people kind of pushing back in. Keep it going, keep it going, keep it going. This pushing, like, this skipping 5 seconds at a time is huge. Life changing. Hanging out. Okay. Chris has also recognized the same thing. Likely because Lynch has communicated it. Just need to hang out. Don't worry about it. This is a nice, juicy helicopter right here. You could hit it. He's probably got an RPG. It's not worth it. Hang out. We're hanging out. It's all good. These people hop in a Jeep and leave. All these people are technically on defense, but they're nowhere near the fucking objective. Remember, if you're on defense, always ask yourself, am I only being valuable for one thing? And if that one thing isn't true, I'm worthless. How do I hedge against that? These guys are so fucking far from the objective proper that they can't react to like anything that's going on over here. These people drive away. We are now dealing with an equal numbers +1 situation. Chris moves around a little bit. Moves over. Nicho's coming up. Making it work. These people are kind of moving around, probably because they see the notification that the base is being taken. Doc's moving back in from this corner. These guys, I think they're trying to get like a Logi unstuck or something. I don't know. RBR is trying to push back in to Montanak, but years away, light years away. And still, gotta remember what the radius for the command tent is, for what the point is. This is still equal numbers. Doc's over here on the other side of the street in this other backyard. I don't know what the zoom in is, but and then TTT gets big inject of people. These guys actually just fucking. Oh, I laughed so hard when I saw this. It's so funny because this is probably the only time that I've ever seen between Squad and Reforger an actual, like, correct use for the smoke. These people aren't using the smoke as cover or even really concealment. It's just a fucking distraction. They're gone. And then they're back. So, anyways, moving on. Boop 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 boop. 136.45. So they kind of gunfight over Figari for a little bit. 136.45. Big push back in with the helicopter. Hanging out. Hanging out. It's all good. And they're here. Yeah. I'd just like to use this as an opportunity to point out, look at where they're all at. They're kind of sticking with what they have within the town. They're not all the way out here. They're not over here. They're not running around through the streets. They're not over here. Good cluster of cover right here. These guys still just kind of hanging out in the building. They own the base. But why be out over here? You don't need to be. They know that this guy's, in a double story, or someone's in the area, right? So why expose yourself if you don't have to? I just don't fucking see people doing this shit. Just like sensible thinking. Which isn't a comment about the competitive scene, because the competitive scene's, just kind of now starting, but just in the game in general, it's a fucking breath of fresh air seeing like small scale logic. I don't know. Moving on. 139.10. TTT. Feeling like hot shit. Pushing in to farm. Do 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 do. However, you can see when the camera pans here in a second. Come on. Did I miss it? Nope. Yep. Come on. Yep. One more. Yep. Nope. Yeah. Really important to look at main. Come on. Come on. Where is it at? Hey, there we go. You can see that basically everyone in TTT's died off of Figari. Right. So this is a situation. She doesn't get called out for a minute. Where they've traded horses, basically. TTT is trying to make this happen before Rubber Band Rangers take Figari. But you'll notice, probably not though, because the distances don't really work. The Rubber Band shout out to on the steps. I said it to him earlier. It's Omni Snipes, but I see Omni Snips, like snow leopards. TTT's kind of trying to push back into the area from the east over here. That ends up being successful, but they're also still running defense on Montanak. Just fucking hot. Pretty sexy. Anyways, 148.18. TTT is back on. Did I get that right? 148.15. Yep. So they got their defense going on Montanak. They've retaken Figari. Yeah, the flag is technically theirs. They've still got these people that are working over here. Oh, no, not quite yet, but they're taking the base. And then they've still got these people over here on farm ready for the leapfrog, right? Great. Efficient people management. Probably sounds like I'm sucking fucking TTT's dick, but listen, do good things, get recognized for doing good things. I don't know. Also, it just so happens that, like, all of this is just camera position. I wish that I could cover both teams equally, but it's just wherever the fucking camera is. End of the match begins at 2:01 in a same style as my comment earlier on, listen, you made your big play, worked out for a little bit, and then you lost it. That's a big hit to the tempo, big hit to the ego, whatever you want to call it, to the psyche. The end of the match. Typically, when they say that there's like 15 to 20 minutes left of the match, you're like, all right, well, are we really going to pull out something crazy here? Are we really? No, probably not. So you're really just scrapping. Just kind of hanging out. This is on the runs, by the way. Just two guys fighting over the next base. 52. Yep, TTT takes farm. No real good counter. I would just like to point out, right, TTT very obviously riding fucking high. Because you got these guys over here. The last base is over here from... not over here. Feeling good, though. Spirits are high. Some more fighting on Fagari. TTT do own farm though, so this is just slumming it. Just feels good. Yeah. Sometimes, even if you know you're going to lose your match, it's empowering to a degree. It just becomes about like the fun gunplay. Moments like that, like, get fucking wrecked. These guys over here trying to make it work. Gunner running through a field. Felt. All right. This is one of my last big mentions for the end of the match. This is 202. Oh, it's supposed to be 202.28, but RBR. Try to retake Fagari. Oh, that was this comment from 202.28. That was these two guys. They're still over here. So this reminded me of actually what TTT did to RBR on this objective earlier in the match, where they really just tried to work their proximity and chip away while they had bodies on the point. Well, same thing in reverse now, but the key difference is there's going to be some attrition here. You kill a guy, they kill you because they saw where you shot from or heard you shooting or whatever. You have to have an injection of like replacement bodies here that TTT had. That's ultimately what really, these individual guys secured the point, but they kept it because they surplused up, basically. And RBR didn't kind of have that setup. Kind of a note to make for Fagari, in case anyone's working it or fighting over it in the future. In the future. All right, so you got the north side. Most of the attacks for this match, most of the fighting occurred over here. Wow, that's not fucking thick. Over here. And then over here. Where's the love for the southeast side? Look at this fucking, look at these bushes. You just take this. There's a fence right here. There's a backyard right here. You just take this. Don't fight over here. Or just work this. Come up from behind through the trees. I didn't see this the whole time. Come on. You even got like a nice little trail right here. It looks like shit from above, but there's actually like a gully right here. It's not super deep, but missed opportunities. Not saying that would have swung anything, but come on. This is how metas are really formed for the community. Everyone's just got to fucking try some shit. And our last mention, 2 hours, 6 minutes, 59 seconds. You got this retake attempt on farm. Honorable mention. Over here. Yep, came back from AFK. Hell, he had landed on the other side of the trees right here. Push on in. Sadly, by this point, the match is basically already done. I think it's actually as they push through the tree line that it's done, technically. But all in all, actually a really good first match. I've said it in a couple of recordings so far, podcast recordings, anyways. you, for varying reasons, you don't get fun back and forths and, you know, oh shit, that worked out. Oh shit, and then that didn't work out. Oh, whoa, wait, whoa. You don't get weird upsets and coaster rides and stuff like that out of squad, mainly because of the size and scale of the maps. You know, typically, if you're working an area, you only have to hold 3 or 4 different angles. You're watching all the holes in the fences or whatever the fuck, and there's kind of nothing for you to do there. This match is a really good indicator and a show of, you can have really good gunfighters and shit positioning, and you're not able to capitalize on that. And then if you have kind of not great gunfighters, you're outmatched, but you've got good positioning, you're able to put bodies on the objective, then it didn't fucking matter. So, and then if you leapfrog to the right objectives at the right times, you can capitalize on openings and windows that, you know, you didn't really need to substantiate fighting in this area because you were able to just push the fight somewhere else, and that sort of stuff just doesn't really happen in squad. So really kind of excited to see the other matches. Did I have anything else? No, I think that was it. 2 hours and 20 something minutes. It's fucking psychotic, but that's fine. If you watched all the way through, thanks for sticking with me. I really, really love this process. Really love this hobby, this dynamic to the game. And I appreciate everyone that's given me the opportunity to feel like I'm not an old man, even if I'm not, you know, a Joe on a team anymore. To be fair, I self selected into this fucking role. I'm done with that shit.